Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. In today's video, we are looking at the current state of our Lego city. We're going to review where we're at with lighting and what needs to happen next for that. We're going to take a look at some new road mills modules that I've been experimenting with. And we'll take a look at some of the buildings that are going to be built in the near future and added into the Lego city. So lots of great stuff to cover. Let's dive in and get started. So first off, while we've got the lights off here in the Lego room, let's take a look at the current state of the lighting throughout the city part of the layout. Really enjoy these moments where we have the lights off in the Lego room and you can see all the great details and interesting lighting that is working its way into the city part of the layout. Still lots to do, but fun to see the additions go in. And we're really starting to get to an interesting point, working out some of the powering for all the different lights, starting to work into the second block of lighting there. We've done mostly to this point lighting on the main street, but starting to work lighting into the back part of the layout there as well. So lots of cool things to see. Let's move a little bit closer, take a look at some of the elements that are there, and then we can do a deeper dive once we turn the lights back on in the room and everything's a little easier to see. Before we go down the main street part of the layout, here's just a different angle. You can see some of that lighting starting to work its way into the second street area that we have there. Really nice to see. And, it really highlights for me both how far we've come, but also how much farther we have to go. Really want to do some more work on interior lighting and having some vehicles with lights on them on the streets. But, making good progress, and those will be elements that we will start to work in more detail soon. Now, it is worth noting that we do have some lighting for buildings in that second row in the city. The Avengers Tower and the Daily Bugle both have lights out in front. We just have not reached a point where that part of the layout for the city has power. So those remain unlit unless we specifically hook up a battery pack to them, but hoping to get that addressed soon so that we can see buildings lit on both streets basically throughout the city. So you can see here more street lights working into that second roadway there in behind the main street. And then lighting all the way down Main Street. Continue to be a really big fan of the brick stuff street lights. Really cool element and adds a very realistic sort of note to the city, having a very commonplace element included there. Love how it goes through the pattern there of green to yellow to red and then flips for the lights going the other way. Really well done. And you can see as we pass by the hotel and the police station, started to get some lit interiors here, but definitely a lot more to add in there. Another set of traffic lights here. Then a few more buildings down at this end. Really like, you can see here with the Lego store, really nice with the lights on there, makes it a lot easier to see those interior details. That's one of the biggest advantages, I think, for lighting the interiors of buildings. It's not just from a realism perspective, but it really does help you to appreciate the interiors of these modulars once they're built. As you know, you normally don't get to see inside very well because it's quite dark. Okay, so now we've got the lights back on in the Lego room. So let's take a closer look at how some of the lighting is currently being done through the city. First thing to note is we have a USB power pack here that is powering all of the buildings down Main Street, as well as all the lamp posts that are on the building side of the road. When it comes to powering the street lights and the lights on the outer edge of the roadway, so those ones there, these ones coming down this side here, everything is being powered by this power pack over here. And that includes these lights here on the outer part of the second roadway in behind Main Street. So those two power packs currently enough to meet all of the lighting needs that we have in our city, but that doesn't handle the back set of buildings down here, and it won't keep up with the additional buildings that we're adding to Main Street here, the additional lights that we're adding on the outer sides of the roadways. So I want to come up with a good plan for kind of splitting up the power requirements in a much more logical way for chunks of the city, so that as we add more buildings, as we add more lighting inside the buildings, we're not going to bump up against the upper maximum for how much or sort of how many lights can be powered off of one power source. The other thing that I really want to achieve is I'd really like all of the battery packs to be mounted along the basically the edge of the layout table right here. So just on the side, maybe use some Velcro or something and have them stick there, and then be able to access, plug them all in, unplug them all as needed very quickly and easily, without having to go into the city like this. These power packs and cords basically shouldn't be visible on the upper part of the layout. So those are some big things ahead. One of the ways that I'm planning on tackling that problem, you can see here, I've started to integrate the new horizontal connectors for power from Brick Stuff. So we've got a set here that's connecting this module to that module. We've got one over here that's connecting this module to that module. I still need some more of those horizontal connectors. There's some additional wires that I need to pick up and some other components to make this all work the way I want. But the goal with this is that I can ideally very easily split up the power requirements for that upper roadway from the lower roadway here. You can see on the horizontal power connectors, there's actually two channels. So I could have one USB power pack hooked up to channel 2, which could take care of everything on that upper roadway there. And then for the lower Main Street area, I could have another power pack hooked in on channel 1 and power everything down Main Street. So that's kind of where I'm looking to go. The other nice thing that these horizontal power connectors will sort of facilitate for us is we can stop having these wires that, here's a good example. You can see we've got a nice wire coming across one module into another over to this expansion board here. That makes it really hard to move individual chunks of road without, having to take the module apart, change the wiring or remove some wires so that something can get moved to a different spot. And then you have to hook up the new road piece that comes in. Really cumbersome. With these horizontal connectors, we'll just be able to, disconnect basically at this point and this point here, and that'll come out, and another piece of road could come in as long as it has the appropriate connector points in the appropriate spots. So, we'll simplify, vastly the wiring down Main Street here. A lot of these wires that are going from module to module will be removed, and it'll just be all handled through the horizontal power connectors, which I think will be really nice. So looking forward to that. The other nice thing, as we start to finalize some of our road mills modules, we'll be able to tuck these wires. So for example, the wires for the two lamp posts here, we'll be able to go underneath the module, and we'll get to a point here where you don't see the kind of the tangled mess of all of this wiring right down the main part of the city. Ultimately, the goal is to not have any visible wires, not have any visible power packs, or at least not have any power packs that are sitting on the city itself. Everything should be over the edge and just sitting on the side of the table there, which, ultimately I think will lead to not only a nice clean look for the city, but it will make it easier for us as we make wiring changes in the future. If there's things that we want to take out to a particular event, it'll make it a lot easier to remove sections of the layout. So really excited about the potential here. It was nice to get, to do a pass through, updating all of the wiring here, trying to get all of the lampposts and existing sort of boards and whatnot that we have in our collection currently out onto the layout here, so we can really take stock of what we have and what we are missing, so that we can set up another brick stuff order to address some of these needs. So, ultimately quite happy with where we are. The big goal is just going to be, expanding and polishing the lighting throughout the city. I want to have the buildings on both roads here all lit up, not only with the exterior lampposts, but also with some interior lighting. So that'll be a big thing. And then, just like I said, the more we can hide these wires, make it easier to move stuff around, the happier I will be. Even at this point, I'm moving buildings around, but, I could see as we move forward, even if the city is kind of quote unquote full and done, I could definitely see times where I would want to swap buildings around, move things from one end of the city to the other, maybe take a building completely out of the city and swap in another building for a period of time. All things that will be a lot easier once we have finished these wiring changes and the power changes. One other note, I did mention, I want to improve the load for the building lights as well, and how that is spread out. And we talked a bit about how the road lights are all going to be improved or sort of split up with these horizontal connectors. That's kind of my goal for the buildings as well. I want to try to split it into, if you can kind of see where the city is now, 2 roadways. And if you imagine a line down the middle, so that you've got the layout kind of split into 4. So there's 4 city sections. Want to try to power it that way and kind of do it on a city block perspective. So, power connections through the buildings here. We come out to a roadway, and rather than having the power go across the road like this, look at having power that can run down to this part over here to a battery pack that is hidden away on the side of the layout. So that way you would basically end up with, a whole city block that is powered off of one battery pack. And, depending on how we set up some of the roadways here, I guess the way it's set up currently, you would kind of you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 chunks. We'll see how it kind of goes with where we put the roads in the, sort of the new finished version of the city. But I could see currently with how the city is set up that we have 5 different chunks that are powered off of battery packs or, USB power packs. Could probably go a little less than that, but again, it's looking for ways that we can make things very plug and play, make it easier for swapping buildings in and out of the city, adding new buildings in and having everything just work. So if we come up with some nice rules like that, I think it'll make it a lot easier. Now, that's probably it for lighting at the moment. Definitely some more things I want to do here. We'll talk about some of those in an upcoming video. But, from a purely lighting perspective, really happy with where we are in the city and happy with what I've learned today as I've been putting some of these changes into effect. And now the next big step is going to be to order some additional parts from Brick Stuff, and then we can continue to sort of execute on that vision and start tidying things up and getting everything powered throughout the whole city. So next up, I want to talk a bit about roads in the city specifically. Now, over the last few days, I've been trying out some different types of road construction based on some instructions that I picked up on Rebrickable, and really happy with how those experiments turned out, especially, in terms of giving me some new ideas about how we could construct or use roads in the city. Now, the first thing to notice here, you'll see there's 3 different types of roadways that we have in the city now. We've got these straight road chunks. We've got a 4-way intersection, which is great for, adding the Brick Stuff street lights too. So happy with how that generally looks. And then we've got a T intersection up here. So the cars can go straight through either way, or you can turn up into the interior road. And you'll notice the interior road is where all of our brick-built road modules have gone at the moment. Now, a couple things to note. One thing with the new roads here, I'm taking advantage of the Lego sort of monolithic road chunks. One thing I discovered in sort of using these a bit more than I had previously, not a big fan of them. I don't necessarily like the way the lines show up. Like you've got these tile bits in the middle here, some tile bits on the exterior, and then there's also this manufacturing artifact here where you can see, if you catch the light just right, this X through the plate there, and that shows up really consistently across all of the different road plates. So not a big fan of that. Not something that I think I would want long term in the city. But what this new approach will let us do, one, we can get an initial set of roads placed in the city, and we can kind of finish off the roadway and start to work on, lighting, traffic, various scenes that we want to have located throughout the Lego city that take advantage of the roadway. And 2, it lets us get to something relatively quickly that achieves that goal, but it also doesn't prevent us from doing other things down the road. Now, ultimately, really like these brick-built roads, And I think there's a number of things in the instruction set, for the roadways that I picked up that I can leverage in conjunction with the brick-built roads. And honestly, a number of the types of roads in the instructions are either partially brick-built or completely brick-built. So it's not really that much of a stretch to eventually get to the point where we have brick-built roads everywhere. So I think that's really cool. As I mentioned, the going this way doesn't prevent us from getting back to that. We can swap out individual chunks of road once we've done, the lighting changes that we've talked about. And, as long as the new road piece that's coming in adheres to sort of the rules and structure of the other road pieces in the layout, which is really cool. You'll notice currently we've only got the road chunks down the middle for the most part. I went a little bit farther with the four-way intersection, just so I could see, with non-accurate parts how it looked. And that was pretty informative too. I really like the way these sort of corner sections work. Just not as much of a fan of the interior part of this, just because of the sort of the way the lines work out and some of the artifacts, like I mentioned, from the manufacturing. But from a general road setup, really nice. I like parts of this better than what I was doing over here with the brick-built roads. So, could definitely see coming in down the line and just taking out this interior pavement section and putting in a brick-built chunk there. One of the things that makes that difficult to do up front is there's a lot of bricks that go into those road chunks. So it's just more of a, it's expensive. It takes a while to get all the parts, whereas we can get to this much quicker. So, it speaks to what I mentioned earlier about let's get a completed roadway, get things working and displayable, and then we can, start working our way up to the perfect ideal road system later. Also worth noting that, I don't think it's going to be bad if we end up with extra road modules. So, I could see down the line, we come along and maybe we replace this set of 3 straight road pieces with straight brick-built road chunks. These 3 could go into kind of a storage system, which we could then use and pull from when we're going out to a show. So this could give us some road chunks that look pretty nice and would work for a show without having to disassemble some parts of the city. So, even when it comes to swapping these things in and out later, I don't think it will be wasted work, and it doesn't need to be a, sort of a tossing away of everything that we accomplished here. Now let's take a closer look at the different types of roads that the instructions facilitate. So you can see here lots of different types of roads that we will be able to do with these instructions. There's more of the standard ones here with the straight road section, 4-way intersection, the 3-way T-junction intersection, a curved part. That curved part we can put basically in up there, which will be nice. It'll get us a nice transition from the main street up to that second roadway. You can see we can have divided roadways where there's like the plant sort of areas on islands in the middle. Nice ways to create turn lanes and even bump outs where you could have, a taxi stand or buses stop to pick up. So definitely want to end up with a lot of these rather than just the straight ordinary, I'll call it ordinary road pieces like this. I think these ones will give us a lot more character, a lot more ways to integrate parked vehicles as well as vehicles that are driving on the roadway. So really happy about that. Other things of note here that I really want to use and leverage, like this one here with the exposed pipes. Great way to have a little scene with some construction vehicles and workers fixing a water leak there, a water main break. Then, there's this one here with the railway crossing and this one up here. Would really like to integrate that into that chunk of track right there if we can. I think it would be really cool to, get some railway crossing functionality in the city, even if they don't necessarily initially light up or, automate in terms of how they work. I think just having the signs and all the sort of machinery around it in terms of the arms that go up and down and the the red lights that would blink. I think having that will add a lot of character and interesting moments to different parts of the city. So I'd like to try to find a way to get that integrated over there. So, just ultimately a lot of cool things that these road modules will facilitate. And like I said, even though we're initially starting out with these monolithic road chunks, there's really nothing that stops us from going, almost entirely brick built, or at least minimizing the amount of chunks that aren't fully brick built. So really happy about that. I think these are going to add a lot of cool details to our city. And it's nice to start to see the flow of traffic, so to speak, around the city, and think about, the different types of intersections that we're going to support and how the roads will fit in and facilitate, sort of minifigure transportation around our Lego city. So still a lot of work to go on this, but really happy with where we're getting with these initial experiments. And next step basically for me is to go and place a number of bricklink orders to start to fill out some of these edge sections appropriately for each of the road modules, and then to get basically every chunk of road covered with road sections, whether they be brick built or this sort of hybrid model. I want to have every road chunk filled in with a number of the parts that it needs, and then we can just fine tune and polish, work on the wiring side of it. And then, like I said, going forward, we can start to phase out these chunks here that are using the monolithic Lego pieces for the road. So lots of work ahead, but I think that this was a good learning exercise. I'll include a link below to the Rebrickable page where you can look at these road plate packs. And, I've only built 3 of them so far, but from looking through all the different instructions, everything looks really clear, and I'm really excited about the potential of these. Now, one other thing that we can dive into here is taking a look at the buildings that we're going to be building for all these empty chunks of the city. Really looking forward to filling those in. So let's take a quick peek at some of the modulars and various things that will be going into the city. Now, one important thing to keep in mind, we have a lot more buildings to build than we have space up here on the current footprint of the Lego city. Not to worry though, buildings that don't fit up here initially will either go underneath this table into the lower layout that we're going to start putting together, or we could also potentially work some of them into the bookcase area as display builds for the time being. They'll still go on Mills modules, and we'll have the option as a result of that of moving them into the city and moving something in the city out. So that is always something, or build on the display shelf could end up going out to a show. You never know, but we are going to keep all our options open. And, initially we'll probably be mostly working on buildings that will go directly into the city, but it won't take long to fill up the available space here. Now, the first building that I'm going to be looking to finish up is the Daily Bugle, and a close second behind that, we've got the Green Grocer modular building here that needs to get finished. We've had the first floor for a while, so I will be working on initially just getting those two builds out of the way so that they're all complete and nicely wrapped off. Then on this corner over here, we're going to be adding the cafe corner. I've had the cafe corner for a while now, but I have not had a chance to put it together. So looking forward to getting that out and onto the layout for display purposes and just to see it. I really want to ultimately get all of the modular buildings up here, the standard modulars from Lego. We've got the garage and what's the other one? There's the garage. Oh, and the theater, the Palace Theater. Both of those got taken apart when we moved to our house here, and I just haven't had a chance to put those back together. So it'd be really nice to get those integrated in. So, ultimately we're going to get all the modulars built and integrated into the city if we can, or worst case, bump down, like I said, to the lower level. But really looking forward to getting the cafe corner and the Green Grocer all finished off. I think it'll be really cool to have those visible in the city. Also would really like to finish this Chili's build. It needs to get moved onto a base plate, but this was something I picked the instructions up for separately. I do have all the parts for this around, so I need to just get that onto a Mills module and just finish that build off so we can have that one resolved as well. Now, as we discussed the other day, we've got our double natural history museum that we will be building based off of the instructions we bought from Rebrickable. Really looking forward to seeing how that comes together. Should be a great addition to the city. We've got the Ghostbusters Firehouse headquarters. Not exactly sure where that's going to go, but really want to get that finished off. I think it's going to look amazing and will be a nice one to have in and around our collection. We've got another copy of the Jazz Club, which will be used for the Brickative nightclub. Should be a fun build. And then another example of a Lego designed modular, the Assembly Square. We don't have a completed Assembly Square out in the Lego room, so it'll be really nice to get that built and included in the layout. It'll be interesting too, because the Double Natural History Museum and the Assembly Square are both larger footprint. They're both, I believe, base plate and a half in terms of their module footprint. So that'll be interesting to see how we can work that nicely into the layout out there in the Lego room, but looking forward to building all of those. And ultimately, many more buildings that we want to get put together. We've got Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, which will go down by the Avengers Tower. We've got a few other Brickative builds. In particular, I want to get the radio studio building one put together. That's using the downtown police station. So it'll be nice to take the parts from that and create a radio station building. So looking forward to getting that one put together. Just lots of different structures, and as we go and build these out, it'll help us with finalizing some of the lighting and the footprint initially for the Lego city, but it'll also help clear out some space underneath the layout, which will help us with getting going on our underneath layout. Looking forward to starting to see that come to fruition. I think it should be a lot of fun. Always great the more tracks and the more display area we can work into our Lego room here. And last but not least, we've got a number of the Bricklink designer sets that would be great additions to the city as well. The diner, there's a train station, there's lots of great candidates there to end up in the layout in general, or specifically over in the Lego City. So we'll be picking a few of those off over the next couple of weeks as we try to catch up on our city and work in some space underneath the layout for the underneath layout to start coming together and being put in place. Initial work will involve just getting some of the wood set up there, so we've got a nice surface to build everything on. But overall, really happy with how the Lego City is coming together. Some interesting directions, I think, when it comes to roads. Really happy with where we're going with our lighting solution. So lots of fun projects and work ahead as we continue to improve our layout here in the Lego room and try to really organize and get everything whipped into shape. So thank you guys very much for watching. We will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.